terrible. So I'm going to take myself off the video. Okay, so part 2. This is really where the rubber hits the road. So if we move to the next slide, Orquídea. What I'm going to teach you today is what to say, how to say it, when to say it, how to deal with the reactions, and there will be reactions, what not to say ever. And then I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about what next. So next slide, Orquídea. So here are some optional phrases. Now, take notes by all means, but don't forget, you will get the recording of this. These are optional phrases. You can adapt them, you can use them as they are, but just know that there are lots of ways you can lead into one of these conversations. Because this first one is the hard one, because this is where you're actually going to be saying to a person, we need to talk. And that in itself, that one phrase can get a reaction. Okay, so I've just written these phrases as generic. So I'm talking to you, I'd like for us to find some time to talk. When would that work for you? You know, it might not be convenient right now. Usually, especially with my partner, if I say, can we have a talk? I know he's going to want to sit there right now, because I know he's not going to want to be worrying and stressing about what I'm going to be saying to him. Okay. And so I'm having challenges with. Now, listen to my tone when I'm saying these things. It's a very soft tone. I'm having challenges with, and name it. Don't fluff around. Don't go around the houses. Don't, bring in all sorts of fluff. I'm having challenges with, state it. And then bring the conversation. I'd like to understand what's going on for you. You might not see that there's a problem here. Talk to me. And then when we've got the conversation going, we need to have our suggestions. It's no point at me going in to have this conversation if I don't know what I want from it. I'd like you to consider blah, blah, blah. I'd like you to think about, I wonder if you could. Words like that, they're not threatening. Notice the tone of my voice. So once again, put the question back to them. Do you have any thoughts on this so we can work it out? Do you have any ideas or suggestions? And then listen and listen and listen. The more ideas you can use of the other person in the initial stages, the better it is, the more committed they will be. And this one is really important. One of the questions I asked you next week was, on a scale of 0 to 10, how valuable is the relationship to you? With the very odd exception, most relationships are important to us. And so it's okay to say that, our relationship is really important to me. It's what we call a warm fuzzy. So I really want to find a way to work this out for both of us. So the whole thing is about an inclusion, win-win. And so then if we've had we chat about a few ideas and suggestions, try to wrap the conversation up, have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and an exit. How about we give XYZ a try and see how that works? Give it a go. Now, here is where we fall over, especially if we're in a management situation. Let's review how things are going on in a week, or, in a couple of days, or whatever a reasonable time frame is, and keep the date. The number of times I've been training managers or team leaders to do this stuff. And I will say, we'll do the role play, and I'll say, think about this and be careful about saying that. And then they have the conversation with the person. I go back to the manager and say, how did it go? And they say, oh, it was really good. No, it went really well. And so then I would say to the employee, perhaps, I hear you had a discussion with blah, blah, blah. How did it go? And they'll say, I don't know. No, I have no idea. Because the managers never got back to them to close the loop. Let people know how they're doing. So I really appreciated that you did that. I really appreciated and valued that you understood how important that was to me. Does this all make sense? It's a complete circle of a conversation. Don't leave the loop at any stage. Otherwise, you'll just go away confused. Everyone will go away confused. So next slide, thanks, Arcadia. So when to say it. So that was setting up the scene. This is when to say it, is when it starts to stress you, your team, or your customer. When it becomes too hard or appalling or inconsiderate or whatever, to keep ignoring it. Or when not speaking up looks like you're giving the permission for that bad behavior. This is particularly so in a work situation. If me, the manager, don't address a time management issue or a quality issue or a whatever issue with an employee, I can promise you it will spread, because it means I'm giving that person permission to arrive late or to leave early or to, not do their job properly. And it will spread. Other people will think, oh, well, it's okay for her to do that, then it's all right for me to do that. And suddenly I don't have a person problem, I have a team problem. Yeah. Okay, next slide, okay. Now, this is the most important part. As I've been saying this, I kept saying to you, listen to my tone of voice. Really, really important. Words, I'm going to talk about I statements shortly. The words I use are really important. My tone is vital. My tone is actually more important than the words I use. And I used to say, if you're teaching a dog, sorry, that sounds terrible. If you're training a dog to sit, if you say sit, it will hopefully sit. If you say sit, that dog will be terrified. Its ears will go back, its tail will go down. Same word. But my tone has moved from being an okay tone to a threatening tone. Watch your tone when you're doing this, especially this first conversation. It is simply a conversation. We haven't got to the, harder stuff yet. We will get there, but right now we're simply saying, I have a problem. This is my concern. Can we find a way to work it out? My tone is very soft. And if I was sitting with the person face to face, my body language would mirror what it is I'm saying. I will make sure that I don't sit with my arms folded, that I don't sit with my head all in a straight jacket, that I haven't got, a pen that I'm banging on. My body language has to be soft and careful and gentle and open. And that's why I picked the picture of that woman. That is the look that we must go for. We are listening. Okay, next slide, Arcadia. So I'm going to give you the example with timekeeping. So I'm sitting here with John, and my conversation is, John, do you have a minute to talk? And we sit and I say, look, I'm having a real difficulty with the fact that you arrive late every day. And it's a problem because it causes others to have to fill in for you or whatever. So I've said what I'm concerned about and why it's important. Do you understand that? Now, this is where we're going to get into a little bit more complicated conversation. So if I've said this to John, do you understand why it's a problem? And he says no, then I have to have a comeback. I have to have a way to get us back on track. And I'm going to show you how to use open questions and closed questions. And they both have a part to play. So if I have said, John, I'm having difficulty with you arriving late every day, this is a problem because it's causing others to think that's okay. Do you understand that we have to find a way to sort this out? That's a closed question. Now, hopefully the guy will say, yes, I do, and I'm sorry. So then I would say, okay, well, talk to me. Let's see if we can find out what's going on for you. There must be a reason why this is happening every day. Okay, so it's opening a dialogue now where the person is being brought in. There might be a very genuine reason. He might have car issues that he can't afford to get fixed. That's not my problem, but at least I'm starting to understand. He might have difficulty getting public transport. I used to live on the shore and I would wait for a bus. And every time the bus came, it was full. I couldn't get on it. So I was there on time, trying to get to work on time, but because the buses were so bad, it meant I couldn't get there. So I had to find a different way. So, but this whole thing is exploration. It's not telling, it's not issuing summons, it's simply having a conversation. So now that is a work situation. So the next one, if you could, Orquídea. So this is probably more a family situation, though it is a bit worky as well. So this is me now talking to my babysitter. So it's, you know, Sarah, whatever. Can we talk about, because I'm having challenges that you're constantly late to sit for me, and then I'm late for work. So talk to me, tell me what's going on for you. Now, here's a little thing I want to introduce. When you've asked a person to tell you what's going on, please shut up. Don't fill in the gaps for them. Just sit and wait for them to tell you. They might have a genuine reason. They might just not care. They might want to give you a whole lot of, oh yeah, well, it's all right for you, or oh yeah, well, you know, all of that sort of stuff. I'll teach you how to deal with that too. But we sit there, power of the pause. Now, when they've run out of whatever it is their, you know, excuses they're giving me, then I will go back and say, do you see that I can't have this continue because it's causing me to be late to work? Now, there's another close question. Do you see that this can't continue? Hopefully they'll say, yes, I do, and I'm so sorry. If they say, no, it's not a problem for me, then I've got a very different conversation to have. Then I will go back. So this is a circle. I will go back and start the conversation again. The problem is, Jane, with you being late, it causes me to be late, and that isn't working for me. So we have to find a way to work this out. So you've gone back. Tell me what you can do. Tell me how you see we can work this through. Put it back on them, and then shut up. So these are not easy conversations, but I promise you, you will get really good at them. I promise you will get really, really good at them, because we get to a stage where we've just had enough, don't we? We've had enough. All right, so I'll just do a little pause there. So I'll hop onto your chat box. Any questions on what we've talked about so far? So we've talked about open and close questions. We've talked about the power of the pause. We've talked about how to open the conversation. Any questions or concerns so far? Does it all make sense? Yeah, all good. Thanks, Anne. Yep, all makes sense, all helpful. Now, right now, COVID working remotely, is it possible for me to have these conversations over Zoom? Yes, it is. Absolutely. It's okay to have it over Zoom. It's better if you can meet up, but if you're having it over Zoom, then my goodness, the words, tone, and body language have to be absolutely spot on, because that person is just, all they've got is my face on the screen. So if I'm, you know, doodling on the other side of my pad, you know, if I'm distracted, or if I've got my phone going, or if I've got children coming in and out and all of that kind of thing, that is not conducive to having these conversations. If I can only do it by Zoom, I will, but it's much better if you can do it face to face. Okay, any other questions? What happens when a person you're meeting with doesn't reveal all their concerns? Don't know whether I can get back to that. Doesn't reveal all the concerns. Then, you know, you just remember, this is the first conversation. You can ask questions like, is there anything else I need to know? Is there any other issue that you haven't felt okay to talk to me about? Is there anything else that you feel that you need to add? These are all valid questions that happen in a real life situation. If you get a sense that the person isn't telling you all there is, then follow up on that feeling, because you will be right. It's okay to say, tell me if there's anything else that I can help you with, and then shut up. You know, I'll just go back to a situation we had at the manufacturing plant, which is where I've had most of these conversations, because everything happens at such speed there. So our supervisor came to me and she said, look, one of my team leaders is just not performing anymore. And I've had several conversations with her and I can't get through to her. And she's taking up too much of my time. So I'm wondering if you're okay with me going on to the warning process. And I said, okay, well, how about I have a little chat with her first? Because, I mean, to me, I don't like losing anybody. If there's a way we can turn people around. So she said, no, well, if you can talk to her, you go for it, off you go. So I called this young lady in, and she was actually one of our best people. She really was. And I couldn't understand why, what was going on. So I said, talk to me here, Heather, or whatever. Talk to me, what's going on? Because, you know, you've been one of our best workers, and now suddenly there's complaints are happening and your supervisor's not happy. Talk to me. And I just shut up. And she sat for quite some time. And it's really hard when nobody's speaking. You feel you want to fill the gap, but I just had a sense that I just needed to sit with this. And she said, my husband's being prosecuted and is going to jail. And it's like, oh my God, we had no idea that she was having problems. Won't go into the details, but it meant that she now had 4 children, was trying to look after them, was trying to get to work, trying to keep the income going, trying to support her husband with whatever was going on for him. Don't ever assume that people do this stuff deliberately. Always be willing to keep saying, talk to me. It's okay. There's nothing you can tell me that will upset me. There's nothing you can share with me that will go any further than you and I. Talk to me. Now, down track, it's a very different conversation. This is your first conversation. We need to know what's going on for the other person. Okay, does that make sense? It's not easy, this stuff, but it's real life. You know, these are people with their own challenges, their own angst, their own stresses, their own whatevers. Okay, so if we go to the next slide. So this is a biggie for me. Remember I told you that I trained as a marriage guidance counselor slightly before my marriage broke up, and that's okay, best thing ever. We were taught this really interesting technique. So if we were sitting with a couple, because usually one person would come first, the one partner would come first and say, oh, look, you know, I'm having terrible problems. And so you'd sit and talk with them and they'd go, blah, blah. And you think, oh my goodness, what a horrible person you're married to. And then the other person would come in and tell you their side of the story. And you go, oh my goodness, this is really weird. And then we would get them together in the room and they would sit, you know, knee to knee, whatever. Now, we taught them how to listen and hear. We are very bad at listening. We're shocking at listening and hearing. So the way that worked in a couple situation was, I would say to my partner, I get really upset when you never do the jobs I ask you to do, and then I'm left doing them. My partner has to sound back what they've just heard. So what you're upset about is that you think I don't do my jobs and then you're left doing them. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Now, if I say I'm my part and they come back and say, oh, well, you know, you don't realize how busy I am and I've got my own challenges. No. Stop right there. Could you please listen and hear what the other person is saying? You don't have to agree with them. You just have to hear their pain. Once you've said, now I understand what you're saying, then it's your chance to turn around and say, I wonder if you realize I have so many stresses at work. I may not do the jobs when you want me to do them, but I promise you I will do. Do you see where we're going with this conversation? We're getting rid of assumptions. You're doing this just to upset me. No, I'm not. I'm doing this because So we're coming towards a central understanding of what's going on for each of us, which then can lead us through to say, how can we work this out? How can we find a way? So it might be, you want me to do that by then. I'm telling you I can't do that by then, but I promise you I will do it by then. So we've got a compromise. Does that make sense? Any questions on listening and hearing? Yeah, spot on. Big sign, big thumbs up. We assume that we know what's going on for the other person. We assume they're out to get us. We assume that they're just getting up in the morning to make our life a misery. No, they're probably not. Some maybe are, but mostly they're probably not. Okay, I can't stress enough to be willing to find the middle ground. Never assume that what you're seeing and hearing is what's really going on. Okay, so next slide, Arcadia. Okay, and remember last time I talked about planting seeds. I won't get everything done this first time we have a conversation. I may, which would be miraculous, but I may not. But if the best I can do is state my case, get them to understand that it's a problem for me and why it's a problem for me, maybe the best I can do is to plant the seed that I want them to think about it, so we can have another conversation to say, okay, how do we sort this out? So if at the end of this first conversation, I haven't been getting a yes, I haven't been getting any factual information, if I haven't been getting the response I wanted, I'm going to leave them with this. Please have a think about what I've said. Please have a think about why it's important that you and I find a solution. Think about how we can make this work. Consider the options I've suggested. You're not going to say all of these, obviously. These are just some suggestions. Consider the options I've suggested. I'll have a think about the options you suggested, and then perhaps you and I can have a coffee tomorrow and we can find a way through it for both of us. And once again, keep the date. The number of times people think they've solved a problem, they go away, the other person hasn't got a clue what they've just agreed to or disagreed to, and then the problem gets worse. Does that make sense? So this is when I haven't necessarily got what I wanted in the first conversation. Please have a think about what we've talked about. Please have a think about suggestions I've made. I'll have a think about the suggestions you've made. Let's get together tomorrow. Let's have a coffee and let's see if we can find something that works for both of us. It's all about win-win at this stage. Make sense? And please remember the tone. Don't leave the mess a meeting like this with going, oh yeah, well, I know that, whatever. Don't ever leave a conversation with that kind of tone of voice. Please don't. Okay. Right. Next slide, Arcadia. Thank you. Right. So these are the what not to say. Never start these conversations with the word you, ever. The minute I say the word you, my tone is harsh. Never, ever say you. Seriously, are pissing me off. You are so lazy. You don't care about anyone but yourself. I'm quite sure some of them don't, but don't say it. You are not the center of the universe. You are such a liar, such a loser, such a manipulator. You is a blame word. The minute I say you, my finger comes out and I am pointing straight at your face. Please don't do that. Learn to use I statements. I'm having challenges with. I'm concerned about. I wonder if we can. I statements mean I am owning the conversation. There is no blame here. It's me that's got the problem with whatever it is that's happening. I own the situation. Does that make sense? Any questions? It might be that they're lazy. It might be that they don't care about anyone else but themselves. It might be that they think they're the center of the universe. It might be that they're manipulators, but please don't say it. Okay, we've got to find a way to deal with a situation without using all these blaming words, with these names, with these, yeah, whatevers. It's very hard to not start a conversation with I or you. Yeah, it's imperative that you start this conversation with the word I. I'm having challenges. I have a problem. I want to find a way through this. I. I'm bringing the problem to you. I own it. The other person might, yeah, what's the best way to respond when in a situation you are being addressed like that? Now, if somebody says to me, you, they put their finger out, I can't, I'll just put my video on. I'm going to show you the signal. There is a signal, okay? If somebody comes at me with you, okay, I won't get my, you, I'm going to do that. Can I stop you there? Hear the tone of my voice. Can I stop you there? I'm feeling that you've come into this situation with a bad energy or an assumption. Can I just stop you there? You can take charge of a situation where it's the reverse. If you have a boss that comes at you like that guy at the top, that is you protecting your circle of energy. It's actually stops people in their tracks. It's saying, no, sorry, can we stop there? And if that's happening, I will take charge of the conversation. Can you and I sit down and can we just have a talk about what it is you're wanting to say to me? I've just taken charge of that conversation. I don't know what the other person's going through. I have no idea. The cat might have been run over. Their wife might have left them. I don't know. They may be coming at me with all this negative stuff, and I don't want their negative stuff. If they've got a problem with me, that's okay. I'm quite happy to hear it, but I don't want your dark energy, and I certainly don't want you spitting and snarling at me. See how you can take charge of a conversation that you haven't even started? It's really, really powerful. The old hands up. Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome. Takes a while to learn how to do this assertiveness stuff. But the other option, if somebody's coming at me like that, is well, you know, all the things we talked about with the owls and so forth. The doves will burst into tears. The owls will probably run out of the room and shut themselves in the toilet. The peacocks will probably give you a Liverpool kiss. I don't know whether you know what that is. They'll probably smack me in the head. And the eagle will probably, yeah, exactly the same, smack me in the head. Yeah, you can take charge of a situation where the other person, not everybody's been trained in this stuff. You know, I wish we were taught this stuff at school. I would never have married my first husband if I'd been taught this stuff. I would have known what I was in for. You know, I just wish we could teach the whole world this stuff. There would be so much less violence, so much less misunderstanding, so much less miscommunication, so much less blame. Yeah, makes sense? Beautiful. I love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. Cool. I'll take my video off again. Okay, cool. You're welcome, Wayne. All right, next slide. Right. Techniques to use if things start to go wrong. Do you understand that if I talk about I'm okay, you're okay? There's a wonderful book called that, I'm okay, you're okay. I'm okay. I'm going to put my screen back on again. I'm okay, you're okay means that you and I are on the same level. Even if you're my boss, you and I, it's a respect thing. there's 4 stages of I'm okay, you're okay. There's I'm okay, you're okay. That's mutual respect. No matter what the conversation is, no matter how many levels above me you are, or how many levels below me you are, we will sit and talk on a I'm okay, you're okay level. The other versions are I'm okay, you're not okay. That's I'm far more important than you. How dare you argue with me? There's the I'm not okay, you're okay, which is might be me to a boss, which might be me saying I'll put up with all the shit you want to dish out because you're the boss. No, I won't. And then there's I'm not okay, you're not okay. These are people who are angry. You just look at what's going on with Putin. He's taking on the whole world because he is an unhappy man. Won't go into too many politics, but he has an internal hatred of himself and he's going to take it out on everybody else. Does that make sense? There is a book actually called that, I'm okay, you're okay, well worth reading. So know that whoever you're talking to, please treat them with the same respect that you would want them to treat you with, no matter who it is you're talking to. I don't know whether because we've done this, I'm not quite sure if I've taught you the broken record technique. Broken record simply means if I'm saying to, I'll come back to the timekeeping situation. I'm saying to the person, look, I'm having challenges with the fact that you're late each day, and that's causing me problems because that makes me late all day. And then they go off on all their tangents. The broken record simply means I'm just going to say the same thing again. I hear what you're saying. I understand. I can hear that you're having your own challenges, but I have to bring you back to the fact that I have to have you here on time every day because otherwise it makes me late for other things. And they go off again on their tangent, blah, 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 blah. And you say, I understand. Look, I totally get it. The challenge is I have to have you here on time every day because otherwise other people have to take up your the slack or whatever. And then shut up. Learning to shut up is probably one of the most assertive, brilliant assertiveness techniques you can ever learn, because you know that the minute the first person closes the gap of silence, they've just lost the argument. So learn to shut up. Say your 3 things, whatever it is you need. I understand. I totally get it. Stay calm. Keep your voice lovely and calm and your tone lovely and calm. And then shut up. Get back to the workable compromises. Remember, we said we thought we might. How about if we try? Never, ever, ever, ever get into an argument. The minute you sense, I'm going to put my screen back on. The minute you sense that the tone is turning and it's starting to get angry, use your thing, your hands up, say, okay, I can see that you're finding this incredibly upsetting and I totally get that. How about we have some time out? And then shut up. It's okay to say, go and have a think about it. I'll have a think about it and we'll have a coffee tomorrow, same time tomorrow. Let's do it same time tomorrow and we'll revisit. Do not let things get out of control, ever. It's okay to say, we need some time out. And if need be, and I have actually had to do this where somebody's got really, really stroppy, I've actually stood up and I said, okay, let's leave it there. Not a problem. You go and have a think about it. And I'll see you tomorrow, my place, 10 o'clock or whatever. Okay, you can do these things. Never put yourself at risk to get into an argument. One of the things I've said there is be clear what's not negotiable. And that comes back to all of the things we've talked about, which is I need you here on time. The reason why that is not negotiable. It's not negotiable for you to come in late, not under any circumstances. Make sense? Now, in a work situation, document every single conversation. Every single conversation. Because we both go separate ways. You have it clear in your mind what you think has been said. They go away and clear in their mind of what they think you've said. And if it goes pear-shaped down track, they will come back and say, you said, and you'll say, no, that isn't what I said. And in a work situation, I take my notes, I write down what we've agreed. So we've agreed, blah, blah. I will give them a signed copy of what we've agreed. So no one can go away and say, you didn't say, or you didn't, or you, or the you statements. In a work situation, document everything. So important. Now, all of these things I'm teaching you, not the I'm okay, you're okay, but these broken record, power of the pause, they come from a book called When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel Smith. Now, I bought that book. It must be 25 years ago. Everything I've taught has been based on that pretty much over the years. I didn't think it would still be in print. It is. Buy yourself that book. Absolutely brilliant. It teaches you all of the stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, next slide, Orquídea. Oh, sorry, any questions on that one? All cool? All make sense? All good. Excellent. So we'll move to the next slide then. Thanks, Orquídea. Now, this is my favorite. It's the story of the monkey. We've all got a monkey. Our monkeys sit on our left shoulder. They're very cute. They're very small and they're no trouble because that's my monkey. Now, you come into me and you say, oh, Anne, you're really good at this stuff. I'm not very good at this stuff. Can you have a word with my mother? Or can you have a word with my employee? Or can you have a word with my boss for me? Because I'm not very good at this stuff. And I say, yes, all right, I'll do it for you. I've just taken your monkey. You must be clear when you're having these conversations, whose monkey is it? Or to put it in another word, whose problem is it? The number of times I've spoken with managers and I've said, who is putting the most energy into solving this problem, you or your employee? And they will usually say, me. And that's when I'll say, stop. It isn't your problem. It is their problem. Their problem to get to work on time, their problem to do quality work, their monkey to make sure that they, do what they've said they do. Do not take other people's monkeys. This is classic with teenagers. We do their homework for them. We drop off their lunch for them because they've forgotten it again. Whose monkey is it? And then we end up like the little, I don't even know what it is down below that little animal, with all of these monkeys on our back that do not belong with us. Make sure that when you're having this conversation, the other person leaves your office or your home or the cafe with their monkey on their shoulder, not yours. Does that make sense? Talk to me. The minute you picture a monkey, you know how you've got to make sure they go out with their monkey intact. Yes, kind of. Okay. It's basically whose problem is it? If it's not my problem, why am I trying to solve it? And also, if I try to solve your problems for you, guess what? You let me solve your next problem and the one after that and the one after that. And if I don't solve your problems to your satisfaction, then guess what? You turn on me. I can't solve your problems for you. I can assist, I can coach, I can encourage, I can communicate with you, I can offer thoughts. Have you tried, or did you think about, or would it work if you? But it's not my problem. It's not my monkey. Yeah, I can assist, but I can't do it for you. My mum, wise old owl, always says, who owns the problem? There you are. That's the monkey. Yeah. How do you hold someone who gets very upset that you documented the conversation? Yeah, it is a tricky one because people think, oh, this is not very nice. It's like, okay, it's just so that we have an agreement. So I will do blah, 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 and you will do blah, 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 and we're going to meet and have a coffee in a week to just see how we're going. It doesn't have to be heavy, but we do, because down track, if things go pear-shaped, I need to be able to go back to my notes and say, we've talked about this 17 times. We talked about it on there, and we talked about it then, and we talked about it again then. Because, as no disrespect to employees, honestly, most employees are fabulous, but we do have employees who, and you will know this, who improve for a little while and then slip back. So we have another conversation. They improve for a little while and then they slip back. And then we have another conversation. At some point, and this is a completely different webinar, at some point, we have to use the words enough. And it comes back to who's putting the most energy into this, and it's me. Because look at the time we take to have these conversations. I'm not saying don't have them. I'm saying absolutely have them. But look at the time we take if we're having to have the same conversation with the same person again and again and again and again. What a waste of time and energy. Yeah. So we're a third party in those. So we are a third party in those situations. Not quite sure what you mean there, Wayne. Not quite sure what you mean. Can you put your, do you want to put your voice on? Can we do that, Lokidia?
Yes, he just needs to unmute himself.
Okay, Wayne, if you just unmute, if you want to ask that question, I wasn't quite sure what you meant.
Yeah, sure. So what you were saying is that if someone else comes to us with their problem that they're trying to deal with,
yeah,
we can assist them, but not solve their problems for them.
Yes, exactly. And listen, I've got to tell you, this is a classic male-female thing. You need to also read the book. What's the book? Oh, it's yeah, anyway, I'll remember it later. Oh, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, that's it. So if I'm having a challenge, I'll say to my husband, oh, look, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he'll try to fix it. I don't want him to fix it. I just want to be able to vent. Does that make sense? In that case, I don't need you to fix it. However, if a person comes to you and they go, oh, you know, blah, 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 then it's okay to say, have you thought of, or did you try, or could it work if? That's different. But I'm not going to fix it for you. Do you see the difference? It doesn't mean I'm not supportive. It doesn't mean I'm happy to. But quite often, you know, a couple of things. The person might go away and think, oh, thank you. I actually, no, I had never thought of that. But they've gone away with their monkey. I think I told you I also worked as a counsellor for a number of years. And of course, people would come to me and they, you know, obviously for a problem, they go blah, 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 blah. And I would just sit there and go, oh, no. And oh, really? Oh, no, that's terrible, or whatever, just making sounds. And then at the end of it, they'd go, oh, that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. You are so smart. I haven't said anything. They'd sorted it themselves. Do you see what I mean? So there's lots of variations on this. Humans are very clever. They're very crafty. You have to work out what's going on. Is this a problem that I'm more than happy to say, have you thought of, or did you consider? Are they trying to dump their problem on me? Are they wanting me to fix it for them when I can't? You know, be aware that there are all of these variations on problem solving for other people. We don't always get it right. You know, sometimes we get it wrong. And that's where you think, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. But, you know, we're humans just trying to do the best we can. Learning this stuff helps you live longer, I believe. Cool. All right, next slide. Thanks, Arcadia. So our greatest fears and all of this stuff, and of course we're fearful. I still get fearful if I have to talk to somebody, you know, maybe taking something back, or, you know, dealing with some terrible customer service or whatever. We don't like doing this stuff, but the thing is we have to learn how to do it. And of course our greatest fears are, what if I make a hash of it? What if I make things worse? What if they never speak to me again? That might be a highlight, I don't know. What if they storm out? What if they start shouting me down? What if they lay a complaint against me? And that's a big one for a lot of managers. What if they lay a complaint against me? What if I burst into tears? What if I storm out? You know, all of these things go through our mind, and quite often we'll think, oh no, I'm not going to say anything. But if we don't say anything, it spreads. If we don't say anything, it gets worse. If we don't say anything, people will think it's okay. That's why I say to people, you know, try to say what you need to say as soon as you can. It might be just a simple miscommunication. It might be just something to say, can we just talk about what happened there? One of the earlier webinars I did on this was one young woman. She just met a new friend, and she said, I want to be able to say to her, why is it that whenever we say we're going to, whenever I say, how about we go to the movies or whatever, you never take up my suggestion. You always want to do something else. Or if I say, you know, do you want to meet and go shopping? Oh, no, I don't want to go shopping. How about? And she said, it's just really annoying. So it's like, why don't you say? Can you just tell me why, if I make a suggestion, it doesn't seem to be what you want to do? You can ask that question or not. And one of the slides I'm going to show you where we've got some choices. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, Arcadia. So if any of those things go wrong, it's okay to say, let's try again tomorrow. It's okay to say, I don't think I handled that very well, so can we start again? It's okay to say, I'm serious about finding a way through this, and I'm absolutely open to your suggestions. And it's okay to say, this is where the closed questions come in. Do you understand why this is important? Now, hopefully the person will say, yes, I do. Good, we're on track. Now, if they say no, I don't see why it's a question. You've got to go back to the beginning. Remember I said it was because you're coming in late, it makes me late for work. So you're doing the broken record. Do you understand now? Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, I understand what you're meaning. So it's learning to use open questions. Do you understand? It's learning to ask closed questions. Do you see that we have to find a solution? So these are brilliant skills to learn as we go through life, especially if we're parents, especially if we're, you know, we've got a sister problem or a brother-in-law problem or a whatever. These are brilliant ways to learn how to negotiate your way through tense situations. Okay, next slide, Arcadia. Yeah, so one of the things that I learned in that book, when I say no, I feel guilty, was that most people only have 3 arguments. I found that so enlightening. So, oh, no, I'll step back. Sorry, there's 2 3-time rules. So this first 3-time rule is, if I've made my statement to the person and I've said it 3 times and they don't hear me, they probably never will. Think about that. If I have said, I'm having challenges with this, and I've now said it 3 times, they probably never will hear it. And this is where choices come into it. Think about the dope, you know, the different personalities. You can accept that this is who this person is and learn to live with it. Or you can accept that this is who the person is and limit the amount of time I spend with them. Or you can accept that this is who this person is and walk away. The 3 times rule. If I've said 3 times, I'm having challenges with, and they don't hear me, they don't change the behavior, I can either accept that that's who they are and I can learn to live with that, depending on obviously the importance of the relationship. I can accept and limit the time I spend with them and accept and walk away. Now, remember down the bottom, I said in the business situation, you may simply have a square peg in a round hole. I can't tell you how many times these conversations have led to us finding out that the things we're asking this poor person to do, they're simply not capable of doing. So why do we keep asking them? Why do we keep putting them under pressure? Why do we keep giving them stress? It might mean a change of job. It might mean that we need to adapt the job or change the job a little bit. It's okay to do that. Yeah, agree to disagree is a way to do the same. We need to agree to disagree, and that's okay. Absolutely fine. Okay, next slide, Arcadia. Now, this is one that's really important to me for people to understand. Oh, I've got a typo there. No one can abuse me, minimize me, sideline me, ignore me, diminish me, abuse me, bully me. No one can do any of those things unless I let them. Do you see that? Do you see how important it is that I learn how to stand up for myself? I learn how to say this is not okay. I learn how to say, can we talk about this because it isn't working for me? How I learn to have those hand movements, which says, hang on a second, I'm feeling quite threatened here. It's okay to say how you feel. Next slide, Arcadia. Yeah, so my favorite phrase, if people slip back to doing the things that I'd asked them not to do, is remember we said, remember we agreed, remember why I said it was important. Remember we said, remember we agreed, remember. So these are the broken record techniques. 3 times, they've only got 3 arguments. Remember we said, remember we said, remember we said. And then they go, oh, all right then. You go, yay, excellent. I finally got through. Thank you. Next slide, Arcadia. So deflecting, this is a big one. Someone called me during the week to say, okay, you know, I tried to have a conversation with someone and all I got was, oh yeah, well, they do it and why can't I do it? And if they can do it, then why can't I do it? This is another of those bringing it back to, we're not here to talk about me. We're not here to talk about the other team members. We're here to talk about your time management or your, you know, whatever it is you want to talk about. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Because people are very good at deflecting. We're not here to discuss James. We're here to discuss the situation that I've talked to you about. Another of those, bring it back. Remember we said, broken record, power of the pause. Yeah, don't let them sidetrack you ever, because people are very good at doing that. Next slide, or here, we're nearly there, guys. Yeah, so this is what I was saying before. There are two, three strategies. So the secret strategy is that most people have only got 3 arguments. And this is definitely from that book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. It's the best thing I've ever learned. So make sure you stay on track, stick to talking about the behavior, not the person, the behavior. Use broken record, power of pause. Remember we said as many times as you need to. It's almost a wearing down of the other person. But eventually, if they realize you are not going to budge, they will either change the behavior or in a work situation, sometimes they decide to leave. Not necessarily want them to leave, but it comes back to how much energy are you giving this one person, and is it maybe best if they do move on? And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want you ever to have a situation where they come back at you and say this was constructive dismissal, because it wasn't. This was a conversation about a performance issue, or this was a conversation about a team issue or whatever. This was never, ever, ever at any stage about the dismissal process, ever. We're not there. So see how you've got to be quite careful how you manage these situations, and why, as I say, for me, I still believe documenting. Yeah. Okay. The last slide. Well, no, we're pretty much near the last slide. All right. So this is really important. As I say, don't forget to have a little look at this, because some of these, they take a little while to read. If you're going doing what you've always done, you'll go on getting what you've always got. If you don't stand up to people, you'll keep getting what they're giving you. If you don't let people know what they're doing, they're poor mind readers, they'll keep doing it. Be honest and ask, what's my part in this? Have I let this go on too long? Have I given them the impression that it's okay to talk to me like that? think about how you can change your behaviors if appropriate. And the first time of this is always the hardest. And I'm just going to let you read the note to self because I love this. And that's so important. We don't know often what's going on for the other person. That's why this, I'm okay, you're okay conversation has to be talk to me, tell me what's going on for you, because I don't know what's going on for you. Like my lovely young lass whose husband had just been carted off to jail. I mean, she was just a mess. Yeah. So we supported her. We did what we could because we don't want to lose her. So never assume that this is people are out to get you. Sometimes they are, but mostly they're not. Okay, last slide. No, next to last slide. So saying what you need to say is difficult. No one says this stuff's easy. The problem is if we don't find a way to say it, then you'll be treated like a doormat and your self-respect will go down the toilet. And pretty soon you'll go home and you won't sleep and your blood pressure will go up and you'll have stomach problems and, migraines and all sorts of things because we're not standing up for ourselves. It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's absolutely okay. So I'm just going to move on to the very last slide because we have, some of you actually did a profile with Chris Baker from People Maps. Chris was very generously offered to do a webinar for us on the 9th of June to explain the nuances of his particular profile. It isn't one I'm trained in, but I said to you, they all kind of fit on top of each other. But I think his one has got this lovely element of the stress factors, which my particular profiling tool doesn't have. So that's on the 9th of the 6th, and I'll get back to all of you. So those of you that haven't had a profile done, if you'd like to get one done, we're happy to keep up that really cheap price to get it done. It's really worthwhile. Honestly, it's such a small investment for understanding yourself. I'm going to, because this was the first discussion, I still do an awful lot of coaching of managers and team leaders and owners and franchisors who are having performance issues. So I'm going to do the next webinar that goes on to the first discussion, which is where it's just a little bit more formal, where we're actually not quite at the warning stage, but we're certainly heading that way if people are not performing, and we've had the conversations. So that's on the 14th of July. And then because the bulk of my work has always been in working with high-performing teams, I'm going to run a webinar on turning ordinary groups into high-performing teams on the 9th of August. So we'll keep you informed with all of those. It's just a continuation of what we've done over the last 2 weeks. So I hope that that's been really helpful. Any questions before we sign off? I'm always conscious of time. Any questions that you want to ask? Thanks. Both sessions were really helpful and practical. Cool.